Yep. Give me a nod when you're ready.
Like
Shooters ready. Stand by.
Evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Bullets and Bourbon. I'm Frank Gao, joined with my co-host, Matt Gunlock. Today, very special guest, we have Stephen Corson. He recently took over as the staff NCOIC of the Pistol Team. If any of you know Scott Rader, who was on the team for quite a while, that's the position that he filled. So Stephen's been shooting competitively for a while. I first ran into him at the MIC, the Security Forces Regiment. Often shows up at NCR and East and does extremely well. So all their shooters are someone to keep your eye on. He, joined the team. We shot the competitive season last summer together, did extremely well. And then after that, had to have some surgery, had a bit of a setback. So that's something we're going to discuss as well. But Stephen, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. A quick intro for yourself, hometown, the Marine Corps units that you've been with, and the path that you took to get to the team.
Yeah, thanks, Frank, and thanks, Matt, for having me on to your show, really. But my name's Stephen Corson. I've been in the Marine Corps for a little over 11 years now, in the infantry by trade. Hometown, kind of weird. It's always a weird one when people ask me that. So I did high school in Van Buren, Arkansas, and that's where I enlisted into the Marine Corps from. Before that, moved around quite a bit. So born in Macon, Georgia, lived in Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, before finally, graduating from Arkansas. So that's like civilian childhood, and then enlisted into the Marine Corps. Really wanted an infantry contract, refused to pretty much do anything else with my recruiter. They had no infantry contracts at the time. So they're like, hey, there's this cool security forces thing. You're basically, the SWAT of the infantry, which I'm pretty sure they probably still tell people that. And Matt probably was
yeah.
the same thing. Yeah. It's this cool thing. And my recruiter was previous security forces as well. And he was one of the reasons I finally said yes, just to get into the infantry, because I refused to do anything else, like I said. But security forces, boot camp on the West Coast, ITB on the West Coast, ended up going to BSG. And then from BSG, I was selected for the Personnel Reliability Program, or PRP, and went to Bangor, Washington as my first duty station. So went up there, got selected to RTT, or the Recapture Tactics Team, for the battalion pretty quickly. Up there, was able to have the chance to do CQB and MOS, or Methods of Entry School. Did my time there, ran into some speed bumps in the UCMJ world, and then executed orders to the fleet. So Victor 1-5, where I did 2 deployments with them on 2 MUs, unfortunately. So the 31st and the 15th. And then after that, it was time for a B billet, basically. So rather than being voluntold to be a drill instructor or recruiter, I elected to volunteer for security forces, hoping to do something cool. Got pegged for as an instructor and did time at a training company down in Chesapeake, Virginia. That's where I ran into Frank doing the MIC, and then finished my time there. Was looking forward to going back to the fleet to be a platoon sergeant. And then I came across the man, the myth, the legend, Scott Rader, and fell in love with competitive shooting. So I'm fortunate enough to be on the Marine Corps shooting team now and do things that very few Marines are able to do. So I'm very, very happy with it.
Yeah, security forces, we were kind of talking about this before. We're still in agreement that we don't know if it's something we would have wanted to do, but it kind of allowed us to set a path in life that ultimately, allow us to do a lot of the things that we're doing now.
Sure.
And yes, I did get told that it was a SWAT team of the Marine Corps as well. And that was back in 2002 or 2001. And it's like, fucking liars. I still talk to my recruiter though. He's a good
Big
dude.
Liars.
Yeah. But talking about security force regiment, you guys are solid shooters, and you guys regularly, occupy that medal bracket. Especially you guys at training company. you're the top candidates to serve as summer shooters, and a lot of you guys have become members of the Marine Corps shooting team, like you, Steele, trying to get Dolly. There's a lot of there's a lot of promise for guys from Security Force Regiment coming over. What is it about the culture and the training from Marine Corps Security Force Regiment that makes individuals there such a good fit with the competition shooting scene?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think what it comes down to is the culture almost that it breeds. So let me start at the beginning of where MICMIX came upon for us. So COVID happened, and towards the end of COVID, we had a gunner come in, and I think that's when MICMIX started back again. So I had heard of the Marine Corps shooting team way back as a junior Marine, and didn't ever think I'd be or have the opportunity to be a part of it, because it was just mythical shooters and whatnot. Really, that's the feeling in the fleet.
The unicorns. So we had
this gunner. Yeah, the unicorns, like, oh wow, I really wish I could shoot that well to be on the Marine Corps shooting team. So we had a gunner, and when it was first starting coming back up, had a gunner and Captain Press. Yeah, Captain Press. Forgot his name for a second. They were going to bring us up to NCR. It was the first ever NCR hosted here on Quantico. And they're trying to put a team together. So TCO, or training company, is split in two. So you have the Security Force Training Company, or training course, which used to be the basic security guard course. And then you have the close quarters battle schoolhouse as well, and that makes up training company. So they're trying to get as many Marines from each section as possible to go shoot this thing. And I initially, because I love shooting, threw my name in the hat. And it's funny, I almost pulled my name out of it because I was like, I don't want to go shoot a lame competition, if you will, because what we were being told is like bullseye style, and I didn't want to shoot standing shooting bullseye, right? I was prepping for IVOC, and I didn't want to give up a lot of time to just go shoot bullseye, really. But I ultimately went, and the rest is history. But I think what it really comes down to is the culture. There wasn't very many of us at the first one, but we had a tight little group, and we competed with each other daily during training. So we had we made our own 2-week training package. And every day we would try to see who was the fastest and most accurate, having no idea what hit factor or lethality factor was. But fortunately, at the schoolhouse, we had the auto turning targets. So you set the timer on a computer, the targets turn, and then they turn away. So we went off the CQB standards for a lot of training, and then we just tried to gradually get quicker and quicker, coming from the holster on everything. And just seeing who's the fastest and most accurate, which, turns into lethality factor. And then I think the competition aspect is what really turned us into being efficient. So we really pushed each other, and we had a good time. If you remember the Security Force guys at any of the competitions, we were always bullshitting with each other and we're talking crap on each other, we always wanted the best for each other, but we like talking crap at the same time. And so we had our own mini internal competition, and we really just wanted to beat the shooting team guys too. Because if you beat one of those guys, then you were doing something right.
So I gotta ask, between Press and you and Haynes, where'd you guys fall out in those CQB standards?
I always pass the standards. I never did it.
Who beat who?
Oh, Press was always towards the bottom, unfortunately.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, he'll admit it too. So hopefully he listens to this. But I really love Captain Press. A great guy. Yeah, I'm so happy I got to meet him and work with him. He's been a phenomenal officer, and I think he does a great job. And so I can't say enough good things about him.
Except that he sucked.
Haynes,
he sucked compared to you two.
Yeah, a lot of officers won't get out there and quote unquote embarrass themselves, but he did not give two shits about what people had to say. It's probably the Mustang in him, but he just got out there and he did his best. And I mean, he has his own issues he's going through in life, but he was still get out there, do the best he could, and I got nothing but respect for him. So
I hope he listens to this.
Yeah. Well,
I just wanted to hit me up and be like, you're an asshole.
The other thing I was going to say is that down there, it's a huge instructor environment, obviously. So, and we preach performance on demand a lot. So as instructors, you got to get out, and you got to get out and perform cold in front of students, performing eat-ups or anything like that. So you need to be able to shoot and not embarrass yourself, show the drills and the time standards. So being able to shoot cold in front of students, people you've never met, and all other students, or there's other senior NCOs and staff NCOs that come through as well. So just performance on demand was a big thing. I think that translates over well to the competitive world.
So, prior to the competition, coming out to the mix, did you guys ever go out to any competitions? And what outside of work, at Marine Corps Security Force Regiment, made you guys such versatile shooters?
So this is the crazy thing. I don't think any of us enlisted Marines, besides maybe the gunner, knew what a MCMIC was. So like I was saying, he's the reason it all came through. It kind of grew beyond him, really. But initially, the only thing we were doing was at work for our normal training day. So we'd shoot at work. Students get done shooting for the day. We were fortunate enough to have a load of ammunition, Alpha 363. So in order to make ourselves better, we'd always shoot. We'd have a instructor progression. So after every cycle, depending whether it's a couple days, a couple weeks, or what have you, always either doing marksmanship or close quarters training to become more proficient. So, practicing what you preach to students. So we did a lot of training at work. Outside of work, I know me personally, and I don't know too many others who actually dry fired a lot on their own until we went to that first Marine Corps marksmanship competition. And then after that, it's like a seed was planted, and it didn't take no time at all for that to really bloom and get Marines very interested in the competitive world. And I think that just grew exponentially and caused people to start going to competitions weekly or biweekly. I know after our MCMICs, we found Freedom down in Virginia Beach. They hosted a biweekly match every Monday night. And there's a large group of us who would be there every Monday night at 6 or 7 whenever it started until 9 or 10 at night. Shooting an indoor match, so that has its limitations, just 4 stages. So we'd shoot 2 stages, tear everything down, build the other 2 stages, and then shoot those again. But unfortunately for us, that's all that was down there, unless we wanted to travel the 2.5 to 3 hours up here to shoot, or down south to North Carolina. But yeah, after the MCMICs, it really just grew from there. There wasn't really any training beforehand besides our instructor training.
So, I know at some point the Marine Corps shooting team came down there to give you guys one-on-one training and, kind of do a left seat, right seat. You guys shoot their stuff and they shoot your stuff. But, how has all of that and the competitions really influenced the curriculum there at Marine Corps Security Force Regiment?
That's also a good question. So I might not be the best one to answer this, because unfortunately, directly after championships in 21, I believe it was, I went down and was joining the beautiful Camp Lejeune summertime for IOLC. So I wasn't there when the action team came down and did the training session with the CQB and SFTIC guys. But I do know it created a huge driving force behind dry fire and actually getting quickly into positions. I'm taking fast, accurate shots. I can't say how it's affected it now, but I know it definitely has. And Staff Sergeant John Doley the third, gotta throw the third in there. I know he got big into it as well, and he was bringing a lot of that back to the CQB schoolhouse, and really driving. But I just can't speak intellectually on it, unfortunately.
No, that's I remember my guys coming back. It was Glomba and Alvarez that went down there, and like they just had nothing but great things to say. And they're like, Gunny, like they're taking everything we said and they're just plugging it right into their curriculum. I was like, dude, that's awesome. Like that's showing that there's an impact in what we have and what we are doing is relevant.
For sure.
It's a breath of fresh air, to be quite honest with you. You don't get that often, people taking what we have to say and, blessing it off in their Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's changed down there now, but before they were not a TCOM POI. They didn't have an approved POI by TCOM. So they had a little room to maneuver the POI around. So it was very easy for them to update their material. On the CQB side of things, and then on the SFTIC side of things, even the I can't think of the word, the events, TNR events that they had to accomplish, they still had some maneuver room to adjust the training. So I do know they implemented it rather quickly. I just can't say exactly how they implemented it.
Right. So when you got to the team, you kind of started out as a shooter, but you did, when Scott Rader left, you took over as the pistol team staff in CIC. What
Yep.
what did you learn from working with Scott and his last year with the Marine Corps shooting team?
And Scott Rader is probably one of my favorite people in the Marine Corps. So him and Sam Larino were the main reason I wanted to come to teams in the first place. So I already had orders to ILC and then was looking at the fleet when I went to my first MIC. But after seeing him shoot and Sam shoot, I was like, man, I want to be like those guys. I loved it so much. I was like, maybe I want orders to the shooting team. And I talked about it with my wife. I was like, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna go to NCR. I'm gonna go to East. Hopefully make it to championships, and then I'm gonna see if they'll just have me on the team. All they could say is no. So that was my mindset behind it. So fortunately, Raider recruited me into the team, and that's been the best thing that happened to me in the last 3 years, right? But the things I learned from him was really how to run the team efficiently. So he built a great team. He was on it for 4 years, I believe. He got there in December of 2018. Built an amazing team. So the thing I learned most from him was just how to run it, stage planning and whatnot, how to divvy up tasks, because there's a lot for the staff in SNCOIC to do. I mean, and you're getting daily tasks. You ran the whole team for a little bit. There's always something that comes up. Your training is going to get affected. You're not going to have as much time as you want or need to perform well. So it's how do you overcome the adversity and still get your guys training? Because at the end of the day, we need to instruct Marines and compete and place well at competitions while learning from those world-class shooters.
So, kind of talking about, having to, delegate and to take on responsibilities and making sure Marines are properly training. What are some of your priorities as you have assumed the leadership position on the team, and how have those priorities progressed so far?
Yeah, so my first priority was ensuring that I didn't undo anything that Scott had already done. So like I mentioned, he put a great team together, and I only wanted to build onto that. So me and him were left seat, right seating pretty much the whole time. Me and him were there on the team together. I would try to help him out as much as I could, without overstepping my bounds, because that's a big thing for me. I didn't want to make him feel like I was overstepping, but I wanted to help him as much as I could to make his life easy. And then he pretty much started focusing on transitioning out after we got back from Carry Optics Nationals, September of last year. So pretty much October 1st was the date we set where I would take over and he would be there to answer any questions I needed. And I set my focus onto two things. So I split it between competition shooting and the instructing. So pretty much how our season split up between MICs and competitions. I wanted to focus on the MIC season first because that was starting immediately. And then I wanted to focus on the competition season. As far as the MIC season, I wanted to formalize the POI. So him and Sam already had great stuff written up. But coming from the schoolhouse, I had the opportunity to go to IDC, CDC, a bunch of instructor courses, and I just wanted to take that knowledge and try to formalize the POI, just make it look more professional and more formal. So I did that, and then I wanted to spread instructing capability to the other team members, because besides me and Scott, nobody else had actual instructing experience on the team, and it was pretty much all what they had learned through just watching others or through hip pocket classes. And we know the quality, not saying my guys are bad, but we know the quality of hip pocket classes in the fleet. So they can be really great or they can be really bad. So I was just taking things I had learned and trying to instill that into them. And I think it worked out really well. So Sam Nelson, great example. So he had no instructing experience before this season, really. So he helped a little bit at the East last year, my first year on the team, or first half year on the team. But he didn't really teach. He was just there serving as a lane. He didn't have all the confidence in the world. So we worked a lot right up to NCR and after NCR on teaching skills. And now he has all the confidence in the world. And he's done very well teaching at Far East and Pacific this year and East. So he's done nothing but great things. I can't talk good enough about him. And the second thing for that instructing session was just ensuring that we had up-to-date material. So no marksmanship. The fundamentals are never changing, but different ways of doing things are always popping up. So we all know that. And so just ensuring that we're the most up-to-date material and that we're actually teaching the fleet what's in use today by the world-class shooters. So that was my MIC priorities, just ensuring that we're teaching the best. We have professional instructors and that our POI was formalized. I think all that went great this year. I have no complaints. Got done with championships, and then we started focusing on the competitive season, but planning was being done well before then. My priorities for that was enhancing where we were last year. So we all placed fairly well. I think the top 20% at nationals. I think me and John Treat were the lowest at nationals, and I was at like 17.8%, and he was 2 people behind me. So top 18% at nationals, which ideally we want to be better, but it's not bad for our first nationals. So enhance where we were and then ensure that everybody was performing better this year and getting to a higher level. So we lost Scott. So that was a huge skill gap we lost. And so just trying to feel where he was as best as we could, replicate that to the best of our ability, and continue to push to the next level. So for our M-class shooters on the team, hoping to inch towards GM, and for our A-class shooters on the team, hoping to inch towards M or as close to GM as we could. And that was made really difficult this year by a low budget and just trying to do the best we could with the money we had.
So, as we talk about priorities in Marine Corps marksmanship competitions and instructing, can we kind of get a glimpse of what we can expect as you guys finish planning for the Marine Corps marksmanship competition season?
Yeah, so right now we're in full swing of the competition season, but that doesn't mean we're not planning for the MIC season. So you walk into our office and I have just boards filled with stuff. And we had a planning session. I believe Frank might have been there a while back.
I remember it.
Yeah, so I'm a very visual person. I need to write it down and visualize everything. So we drew up a whole whiteboard. So we got our plans done for the most part. So priorities for this season is that ensuring our POI is updated to match what we've learned this season, because we want everything to be solid up to that point when October gets here and NCR kicks off. And better instruction. So that's with the POI, ensuring that we're teaching the best material in the most effective manner and having updated, more in-depth training. So I handed out a bunch of IRFs, just one thing I took from TICO and just formally teaching. So I would have all the instructors take IRFs if I wasn't at the MIC and hand those out to students. So not forcing people, because I didn't want like generic answers, like great instruction, good stuff. So I actually wanted criticism, whether it was good or bad, on what we could do better. So taking that and then really revamping how we're training Marines. So looking at what we can change different, where we can move things around in the timeline, and just ensuring that we're maximizing the amount of rounds that Marines are shooting and making sure they have a great time. Because, you gentlemen have heard it at the MIC, the team preaches like this isn't a normal Marine Corps range. We take all the nonsense and throw it out the door, and we want you to have a good time. For one, you want to come back to future MICs and have, and two, you want to go to competitions on your own because it's something that you enjoy. We're trying to develop the itch, if you will, and that itch is to better yourself. So really taking those IRFs and revamping the POI and then ensuring that we're giving them a good product back. What I'm most excited about is championships already of 24. That's been a big focus of mine, because to me, Marine Corps Championship should be an unforgettable moment in Marines' careers. So my side of the house pistol, I'm focusing on trying to have a bigger and better match for lethality factor, if you will, reminiscence of a level 3 USPSA match. So a plethora of stages, varying degrees of what's required, and just more stages, but in a better controlled format. So I personally took a lot of the AAR points from this past championships on what we could do better. And I'm trying to implement those as well as I can until somebody tells me no, basically. And then, so that's one. And the other one is I'm very excited about. It's what I'm calling the heritage match. And it's basically going to be a mix of different shooting styles. So we're going to have practical shooting in there based off of lethality factor or hit factor, if you will. Throwing in some physical fitness because we're the Marine Corps, why not? And then rolling in some Marine Corps heritage in there all together. So as Marines, we love our tradition. We love the Marines that come before us, and we want to honor them. So pretty much rolling all of that into one big package. And I think it's going to be an event that dudes won't forget, or gals, really.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Might be the last one I can shoot before I go off to the Naval Academy. You talked a little bit about last competitive season, and that entire season, I was chasing after you. I was chasing after Jim Steele, Sam Nelson, Treat. Like, you guys just shot really well. But injuries and setbacks are a part of Marine Corps life. You ended up deciding to get surgery, and then take some time to recover. So what were some important parts of your path to recovery besides going viral on Terminal Lance's page?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I was trying to keep my name out of that, but since you brought it up, now people are going to know it was me. But no, yeah, just before I'll give it a little backstory. So coming to the team was a huge eye opener, if you will, because totally different culture here, different atmosphere. So compared to the fleet or training company, I was almost in a culture shock coming here. So that took some like mental adjustment, learning like the team's way of life. Was doing Delmarva, and I was trying to shoot production because I love tactics. And so in production, you have to stage plan more. So I was running that. Did not do extremely well at Delmarva last year in production. First major match, we were shooting Atlanta Arms 147 grain ammo. So wasn't familiar with that match ammo at all. So I had some issues. So came out of that match just wanting to train harder, do better, like shoot, as a good Major Tim Hitchak says, shoot faster, more accurate, really. So was hitting it hard on SAT, and I ended up, I've torn my ligaments in my ankles before, so I have some weak ankles. Going hard on SAT, and I ended up rolling my ankle again and really just messing it up, tearing the ligament, 3 ligaments in my left ankle. And that put me down pretty good. But being my first season on the team, I refused to go on light duty or anything like that. So I had at times 2 to 3 wraps on my ankle. I was icing it, elevating it, resting it as much as I could. But I was still shooting matches. Mid-Atlantic last year, I shot that with 3 different braces on my left ankle. And to the point to where I had lost feeling in my toes just because my foot swelled so much. So went through the whole season with a messed up ankle. And at the end of last year, I was like, I need to get this checked out because I didn't want it to hamper me in the future. And it wasn't getting better. I did 4 to 5 months of physical therapy. Mm-hmm. So I looked to get surgery January of this year, and I actually had the surgery in February. So it was a total ligament reconstruction in my left ankle. And they told me it would be 4 to 6 months minimum before I was 100%. And I played back and forth with it a lot. Do I want to get surgery? Because I knew it was going to hold me back a lot in the competitive season, or not get it and potentially hurt my ankle more or never recover fully. So I ultimately elected to go with the surgery. And really, I've just been trying to get back to where I was. So as you said, I think I was doing pretty well for my first season last year. By the end of it, I think I was 83% at nationals. And that was a big accomplishment of mine. I was shooting for at least 85% to match bump to master. That didn't happen. I took it too easy the first day. Mm. But a big thing with mine was just to be better than I was. And getting surgery, I've definitely fallen behind. That's a pretty hard thing mentally and physically when you see all your peers just jumping exponentially ahead of you. And just seeing that happen, I'm so happy for them. But at the same time, it's like, man, I just wish I was at their point.
You'd be up there too. Like if you were healthy, you'd be neck and neck with them. Yeah. No, it sucks. It sucks having something come in and just push the pause button on your progress. Yeah. But you and I talked about this because last season I was recovering from my ankle injury, and sometimes these setbacks can force you to shoot in a different way. So with your limited mobility, what are some of the things that you've learned having to shoot with the lack of balance, the muscle soreness, all those things that have to do with your rehab? What are some new dimensions that you see emerging in your shooting?
I think the biggest thing I've taken, and this is definitely coming like after talking to you as well, is shooting on the move, which in the past, so we don't get a lot of outside training. So what we learn on the shooting team is what we teach ourselves through observing others or what we pay for on our own through like online training platforms. So shout out to like Max Michelle with his Patreon account. We followed him a lot last year, and he gets into positions, and this was pretty much all of our mindset last year. He gets into positions flawlessly, and he's able to shoot very quickly and accurately in one position. So he'll shoot into a position and then plant, open his hips up, and engage in array. That was my shooting style last year, and I couldn't do that this year so far, because to do that effectively, you need to be able to get into position quickly. And I couldn't get into position quickly, as the terminal lance video you mentioned. I was hopping around on one leg until like 4 weeks ago.
You still beat people.
So, yeah, I did. Amazingly. So it's definitely shooting on the move. And we had Mid-Atlantic last week. Amazing match. Vicky Lynch runs that, and I can't say enough good things about her. I love Mid-Atlantic. I loved it last year. I loved it this year. And that was the first match where I solely focused on shooting on the move and trying to move effectively and hit as accurately as I could. Didn't work out as well as I wanted to, because using some Alpha 363, the ammo wasn't quite what I needed to be able to shoot quickly and effectively while on the move. But I still picked up a lot of good lessons. Getting my gun out faster. I've been really practicing on scoop drawing. So instead of trying to do that traditional draw stroke, really scoop drawing. So I focused on that a lot. But other than that, those two things, that's the main thing. Shooting on the move, trying to get into position still quickly as I can, and getting my gun up and on target as fast as I can.
Yeah, a quick thought, since I also shot Mid-Atlantic. There were opportunities to shoot on the move, but that was, out of all the matches we've shot, they use ports more heavily than any other match I've seen. I think part of that is because that club on Talani just has really good props set up. But there were a lot of limiting like side angles that really stopped you from taking things on the move. But also what I found from adapting my shooting style to taking everything on the move, moving really slow, but slinging all alphas. Once I started to get healthy, I started to realize that like that wasn't the fastest way to take things. But then now I'm at the point where, I'm starting to blend things again. So I'm excited for you to like continue to progress and like learn things that like, if this hadn't happened to you, you would have just continued to shoot in that Max Michelle manner. But now you're going to have something else in your toolbox, and you're being forced to do things that you otherwise wouldn't even entertain. So yeah, I'm excited to see how you continue to develop this season, man.
Thank you.
But we've talked kind of about the future. I think you're one of the few guys that I mentioned that I'm currently attending Georgetown, and you said that's one of your plans for the future. You have some other things that you're looking at doing, but yeah, plans for the future, man. What's in it after you after the teams for you?
Man, what such a big question. So I think all of my reenlistments have come at the last minute. So family is a big thing for me, obviously. So I'm married pretty much my entire Marine Corps career. So me and my wife have been married for 10 years now. We have two great children. I have a son who's turning 9 this year, and I have a daughter who's turning 6 this year. So my wife actually just graduated from Kansas State with 2 degrees just this past year, and she just finished up a medical internship for dietics. So she has a great career now up in Prince William County. Shout out to her. So just trying to focus and balance my passion of the Marine Corps and then my family's needs as well. So for me, I don't know entirely what the future holds. I know it in some form or fashion, the Marine Corps is still going to be a part of it, whether that's active duty or the reserves. I still have a year and a half on the team. So that's really what I'm going to super focus on, just making sure that I deliver back to the Marine Corps 100% the best I can. Georgetown has always been a passion of mine, either that or Stanford. So I'm going for 2 degrees right now. One's Homeland Security, and the other one is International Relations through Penn State. And I would like to pursue a major in it, a master's degree, later on. And Stanford and Georgetown are the 2 names that constantly come up, and Georgetown is just very appealing to me. So I would love to be able to attend and get a master's degree from them. And I hope one day, whenever my Marine Corps career is done, to still continue to give back to the country I love, really, in some form or fashion through public service. So with that degree. So yeah, it's really what the future is. Just continue trying to make the team better, and then ultimately graduating with those degrees. So I'll finish Homeland Security here in August, and then I'll solely be focusing on international relations, and then continue serving honorably while also trying to pursue that master's degree at Georgetown in the future.
So real quick, when did you start doing working towards your bachelor's degree? Like, how long of a process has that been for you?
Man, I started in 2017, and I started initially I wanted to go MECEP, and MECEP, or the Marine Enlisted Commissioning Program. Mm-hmm. That was my thing. That's what I wanted. And to do that, I believe you needed a math. Yeah, you need college credits. I think it's 12 credits. You needed a math, a science, and then one other. So I initially enrolled into a university in California when I was still with 1-5, just with that my sole focus. And I never loved school in high school or whatnot. I was solely focused. I was trying to get into the Marine Corps as fast as possible. I was trying to serve and get over and do my part, my fair share in the infantry, right? So that was all I was focused on. I did well in college, but I never had any ideas of college. Or I did well in high school and never had any ideas of college. So when I started going back in 2017, I actually just fell in love with it. So ended up putting MECEP on the side because I was going to be an instructor for security forces, which I was pretty excited about. I wanted to be able to do that route. So I put MECEP on the side, and then I just kept going through college though because I loved it so much. So I got my associates in just professional studies. So it's just general education, really, associates. And then I didn't want to stop there. So I got my associates. And when I was on the 15th MU, I was able to be a liaison. And me and Matt have talked about this, be a liaison in the Joint Task Force, Horn of Africa. Yep. So I worked in their J3 for like 2.5 months. And seeing like real world applicability to things, I was like, international relations, I would be on the midnight shift, working 8 hours from like 10 to 6 in the morning or whatnot. And it's pretty dead at that time, operations wise. So I do my work for the night, and then I'm just Googling different things. International relations sparked my interest quite a bit. So that's when I started becoming very interested in that. I kind of lost my train of thought, but running from there, I was doing Homeland Security, started focusing on international relations because I couldn't find it online, international relations. So I was doing Homeland Security because that's what the university offered where I got my associates. Finally found Penn State offering it online because initially it was some random university in Florida, and it was the American Military University. And I didn't want a degree with the name military in it. Nothing against them. I'm sure they're an amazing college.
No, they're not.
But I just did.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Ceasefire. But yeah, I wanted a name that people would recognize for the major that I was super interested in. And Penn State is very recognizable. A lot of people go there, and they have an exceptional program. So as soon as I found international relations, I pretty much dropped Homeland Security, even though I was 5 classes away, and solely focused on international relations. And then lo and behold, just this year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back, finish that degree, Homeland Security, so I can have 2. So I've been going to 2 different bachelor routes right now. I have 1 class left for Homeland Security, then I'll be solely focusing on international relations.
I just wanted to, tease that out because everyone sees guys on the Marine Corps sheet. And just to put this in perspective, you've been in school for like the last 6 years, just persistently grinding towards a bachelor's degree, which is awesome. But that just requires, you've been in so many different units, so many different things have come up. You're a dad, you got 2 kids, you got a wife, you're a competitive shooter. You're a really good competitive shooter. People don't often see the breadth of things that Marines are really doing at home on their off-duty hours. Yep. So I think that's really commendable. Do you have any tips for people in terms of just managing a workload on top of a job, on top of being a father, on top of all the other things that you want to do that you're passionate about in life?
Yeah, I think you just got to embrace the crayon jokes because everybody's like, oh, you're a crayon eater. I hear every time I meet somebody new that I go, how's the crayons taste? So they taste amazing. Purple's my favorite, even though I hate grape, right?
Burnt sienna is my favorite.
Yeah. Pink and purple.
Pink. But for me, it's really what my long-term goal. So I came from a very underprivileged childhood, really. Like, had a single mom who did her absolute best, but my always been my goal is to provide well for my kids and not have any excuses for why I couldn't do anything in life. So for me, it's the persistence to want to excel at anything and everything I do. I always want to be the dude or the Marine that somebody can count on. And I take a lot of pride in my last name. So I want people to be like, oh, Corson, that guy's solid. In everything I do, whether it's college or helping Marines out, leading Marines, being a follower, whatever it is. And I think that translates over to getting my degrees, trying to be the best father I can. And like any dad, you're going to have those days where like, am I doing what I can't, like the best of my ability? I'll have days where I'm like, man, I really suck at being a dad. And then my kids will do something and they'll call me like the best dad ever, something like that. And, you know, those are the moments to live for. So it's really, for me, it's find what you're passionate in and what you want. Identify those long-term goals that, you know, everybody hears as a child, your 5 and 10-year long-term goals. And I didn't really give much credence to that. I guess credence is the right word when I was a kid, but now it's a real thing. So I always set like the near-term and long-term goals for myself. And I need goals in life to work towards. Otherwise, I have no purpose, and purpose is my driving force. So if I don't have that, I pretty much go crazy. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And hey, credit to you. I know how busy you are. I know how much stuff is on your plate, and being able to work on school at the same time is nothing short of impressive. But at this point, you know, we've talked about a lot of different subjects. Is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Man, no, we've talked about a lot of good things. For me, I would just impart that, you know, there's Marines out there that listen to this, and then there's others. So always, like, discipline and respect are the biggest things that I try to idolize in the Marine Corps. So really just doing the best you can at your job, being respectful to people, professional. Obviously, there's times to horse around and play, but I still try to be just the best person I can as a human being and as a Marine. So, you know, just commit to something, set goals for yourself, push through, and, you know, just don't stop until you attain them, really. So I have a bunch of goals I've set for myself this year. And I'm not going to stop until I reach them. So.
Oh yeah, man. But we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate being able to pick your brain. And yeah, best of luck with the rest of the competition season, the upcoming MICBIC season. To our listeners, hope you enjoyed this. Let us know how we're doing.